Thanks all who have joined before time. Just to
So,
give some background, we have as a participants we have a member participating from Dubai. We have a participant logging in from London as well.
oh, that's great.
And yes, and we welcome all of them.
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? I hope I am unmuted by Vesti.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, good evening once again, and welcome to the 7th online meeting since lockdown of BCBA, an initiative of Basin Christian Foundation. In this lockdown, we had 6 online meetings with 3 knowledge sharing sessions. One on the 8th of April by Sir Prakash Almeida, second on 21st April by Sir Sanjay Awale, one on 15th May on cyber crime by Dr. Harold DeCosta. One on 22nd May we had a session on boost your memory by Mr. Naveen Gaikwad, and we had 2 monthly meetings as Nilesh informed us with Madam Sheetal Chavan and Sir Sampath Iyengar. All of them have given us tremendous support and confidence during these difficult times. Please don't switch off your phones. Instead, place it in such a fixed position where you could be seen. Before we commence the proceedings, a gentle request to all of you to keep your surroundings on silent mode and then move to a better internet zone. BCBA म्हणजे एका चळवळीचा प्रवास, ख्रिश्चन उद्योजक आणि व्यावसायिकांचा एका स्वप्नाचा. उपलब्ध संसाधनांचा वापर करून आपल्या समुदायासाठी उद्योजकता कौशल्य तयार करणे आणि एकमेकांची वाढ करणे, पारदर्शकता, वचनबद्धता, उत्कृष्टता आणि विश्वास या तत्वांवर. We are delighted to inform you that BCBA is the largest association of Christian business fraternity in Vasai. It has completed 44 months of its existence with uninterrupted business meetings since its launch on September 10, 2016. Renowned speakers and experts were invited to educate and enlighten our members on various topics. Let me tell you the flow of today's meeting in short. We will start with the prayer, then summary of today's participants, followed by the speaker's introduction. Then the honorable speaker will guide us on today's topic. Later we can have a question and answer session if time permits. So let's pray. हे प्रेमळ पित्या, आम्हा वसईतील ख्रिश्चन व्यावसायिकांना बसिन ख्रिश्चन बिझनेस असोसिएशनच्या नावाने एकत्रित केल्याबद्दल आम्ही तुझे आभार मानतो. आमच्या असोसिएशनच्या पदाधिकाऱ्यांना तू दूरदृष्टी व कृपा दे. त्यांना आलेल्या संकटावर मात करून सभासदांना चांगल्या तऱ्हेने मार्गदर्शन व प्रेरणा द्यावी म्हणून तुझी विशेष कृपा आम्हास दे. हे प्रभू येशू, तुझ्या नावाने सभासदांनी ख्रिस्ती मूल्यानुसार एकजुटीने एकमेकांसाठी व्यावसायिक संधी निर्माण करून मदत करावी व व्यावसायिक समृद्धी बरोबरच आमची आध्यात्मिक प्रगती व्हावी म्हणून तुझी विशेष कृपा आम्हास दे. हे पवित्र आत्म्या, आमच्या भावी पिढीतील मुलांना आम्ही आदर्श बनावेत. आमच्या व्यावसायिक कार्याद्वारे वसईची व सर्व सभासदांची उत्तर प्रगती व्हावी अशी प्रार्थना आम्ही तुझकडे करतो. या आमच्या स्वर्गीय बापा, तुझे नाव पवित्र मानले जाओ, तुझे राज्य येवो, जसे स्वर्गात तसेच पृथ्वीवरही तुझ्या इच्छेप्रमाणे हो. आमची दररोजची भाकर तू आज आम्हास दे. जसे आम्ही आमच्या अपराध करणाऱ्यांना क्षमा करतो तसेच तूही आमच्या अपराधांची क्षमा कर. आम्हाला मोहात पडू देऊ नकोस, पण वाईटापासून आम्हाला सोडव. आमेन. I request Nilesh sir to just go through the summary of our participants today. Over to Nilesh sir.
Thank you, Harman sir. I request all of you if you can give some concentration on your screen. We have 46 participants, those who have registered, There will be few who have been added without registration on a special request. But we have 46 formal registrations. Out of them, 26 are into business profession, which is more than 50%. We have 6 professors and teachers. I think majority of the professors from Viva College, and we heartily welcome them. We have 4 professionals, and we have 10 into other categories. Out of them, 2 are employed, 2 housemakers, 1 student, 2 unemployed, and a few in other categories. So this is the overall background of the participants who have registered for today's webinar. Thank you, and over to you, Aman sir.
Thank you, Neil sir. I now request our member, Besti Madam, to introduce our honorable speaker today.
Thank you and welcome to all. We would like to introduce the respected speaker for today, Sanjay Albert Rigo. He's an advocate. Sanjay Rigo is a practicing lawyer and also a qualified chartered accountant. He is also a member of the Society of Trust and Estate Professionals, SEP. He also holds a postgraduate diploma in securities laws. He has over 24 years of post-qualification experience. He has worked for over 14 years with Deloitte and has advised clients on matters relating to personal, trust, commercial, tax, FEMA, and corporate laws, and relating to shareholder agreements. Our speaker for today is, he specializes in estate planning and advises high net worth individuals with regard to their estate and succession plans. This includes drafting of wills, trust structures, advising of family agreements, family constitutions, etc. Sanjay assists in advising clients on complex issues and has been able to provide innovative solutions to problems considering legal, including personal and inheritance laws, tax and financial solutions to tax and financial implications. He was associated with an independent trustee company which specializes in setting up and managing family trusts in India, and headed the legal, finance and operation functions for about 5 years. He also advises clients on property law, including conducting title checks, commercial corporate, shareholder agreements, and distress debt resolution issues. Sanjay is the proprietor of Rigo and Associates and has a team of specialized lawyers across India to assist him in various specialized engagements, including conducting legal, due diligence, advisory engagements to startups, intellectual property management, and litigation. Thank you, sir, for being with us today, and welcome. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Besti. Thank you so much. I now request our honorable speaker, Advocate Sanjay Rigo, to take over. We are honored to have you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Betsy, for the kind introduction, and thank you, Mr. Herman D'Souza, Mr. Nilesh Menezes, and all the members of BCBA to have me speak to you all on this very interesting topic on importance of wills. Nilesh, can I have the
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. So I will start with the agenda. On why are wills important? My agenda covers 6 related issues. The first will be myths about wills and estate planning. There are many people who are unaware of why will is important, and what are the misconceptions surrounding wills and estate planning. The second aspect of my presentation is, as I said, why estate planning. The third is, what are the key estate planning questions that one has to keep in mind while considering one's estate plan. The fourth will relate to the legislations which one must have an overview when one is considering one's estate plan. Then we will come to the mode of devolution and transfer of assets. What will happen if something happens to a person? And the last and most important part is, what are the key aspects one needs to consider while one drafts his will. Coming to the next part of it, on myths about wills and estate planning, there are people who say, why should I make a will? I do not have too many assets. There are still some others who say, I have nominations in place. A lot of people have this misconception that if one has nomination in place, it is enough and we do not need to make a will. They feel that having the nomination in place, the assets stand transmitted to their legal heirs. The third set of people say, we have a very small family, we have a united family, there are no disputes between family members, everything will be peaceful after I'm gone. So what is the need of making the will? A fourth set of people think writing a will is a complex and complicated exercise requiring a lot of efforts, and most of us postpone drafting our wills, waiting for time when we will have time to make our wills. Still others feel, if I talk about making my will, it will upset my relatives. I have known a case where a child started crying because the father had made the will. And as I said earlier, people think now is not the time to make my will. I'll make it when I retire, or I'll make it after another 10 years. I mean, I've got not too many assets to make my will. There are still some others who are superstitious. They feel if they keep their will in place, something will happen to them. So these are only myths. These are misconceptions and misnomers. We need to know why making our wills so important and the process surrounding that. I come to the next part of it, why estate planning. Basically speaking, we need to have in place an estate plan. And the most simplest of estate planning tools is writing one's will. Why we need to do it? Because we can put in place a smooth devolution of how we are going to transfer our assets to the next generation, in a manner where we can bequeath our assets to our loved ones, or if we want to make a donation or a philanthropy of our assets, give our assets out to charity, or we may want to give certain assets to some individuals to the exclusion of others who may not even be our relatives. Another aspect we need to consider is, by writing a will, we are devolving our assets in a tax efficient manner. Currently, and I will come to that, there is no tax on assets being transmitted to our loved ones. Writing a will and keeping a will in place is one of the most flexible plans that one can have in place. And one can always amend it the way we want to over a period of time, considering the changed circumstances that may happen. As I've said earlier, it is a seamless transmission from one generation to another. Those handling the estate will have a defined plan as to, depending on what the person has desired, the way the assets have to be transmitted to the legatee, the person who is supposed to be receiving the assets. there is clarity of succession within the family, especially when it relates to business assets as well. There will be clarity as to who will be having what aspects of shareholding and how will businesses be run also, even when shares devolve on the concerned persons. By having a will in place, one can mitigate family disputes. I am not saying that wills cannot be challenged, but having a properly drafted will in place will mitigate the risk of a challenge, mitigate the risk of a fake will coming in place, or some forged documents coming in place. And last is, one can have peace of mind when one puts a will in place. One will have clarity and one will know one has taken care by bequeathing assets for one's wife, one's spouse, one's children in place. On the next aspect, we come to what are the key estate planning questions. To understand what we not need to bequeath to whom through a will, and I'm talking about only wills as an estate planning tool in today's discussion, we need to understand there are three phases or three cycles in a family wealth. You will, during your formative years and your career, you will accumulate wealth. During your midlife, you will want to preserve your wealth and see that it helps you to get through your retirement. And last is when you will want to transmit your wealth in a manner that ensures that there will be no disputes after one is gone. Having said about the wealth cycle, one needs to then look at how one would want to distribute one's estate to one's family or to one's legatees. What is the kind of provision I want to make for my spouse? Some may not want to bequeath the assets directly to one's spouse because of fear that she may come under influence of others and may be cheated of it, or she may not be investment savvy. So what is the mechanism to protect her from those situations? The third aspect is making provision for young children. Life is uncertain, so one needs to make adequate provision for one's children with ensuring that the children do not get the assets at a very young age. And what are the rights that one have in ancestral property and inherited property is what one needs to understand. In the next slide, which is a very interesting slide, we see there are 5 types of families, and there are special situations which I have tried to carve out, and special situations. A family may comprise of a husband, wife, and one child. That may be a boy. The other may be a girl. One may have 2 sons, or one may have 2 daughters, or one may have 1 son and 1 daughter. One needs to also consider special situations. There may be children may be married, or one may have a divorced child who is staying with you, or there may be an unmarried child to provide for, or there may be an adopted child, or a child requiring special needs. Still, there may be other situations. One may have children who have settled abroad and other situations. So one needs to see the family dynamics and what are the situations within the family when one is writing one's will. There are certain complexities of estate planning which needs to be looked at. Currently in India, there is no uniform civil code. There are a variety of personal laws depending on the personal law each one is following. There are certain regions. Of course, I'm talking to you all as Indian Christians and assuming that the Goa law does not apply to you all. There are Goa specific laws, like what was earlier the Portuguese code, which applies to the Goan people of Goa. It does not apply to you all. Then there can be aspects. What is the effect of marriage on inheritance? What happens if one is in a live-in relationship? 10 years back, we would not have spoken about live-in relationships. But what if one is in a live-in relation? How does one protect that live-in partner? What happens if one does not make a will? What will happen to that live-in partner? Similarly, of course, now one can adopt children. What happens if that child was just taken as a ward, where the earlier Christians could not adopt children? So, by a court order, one could just be a guardian for that child. What happens after the majority of that child, and if you do not make a will? How do you want to provide for that child? Still, there could be others who could have settled abroad. And as I spoke of earlier, family dynamics and asset profiles which one needs to consider. The confusion around nomination facility is something I will specifically take towards the later part of my presentation. Now, another very important aspect one needs to keep in mind: what if I do not have a will in place? The personal law will take over. That means to say, the Indian Succession Act will govern your assets. If under Indian Christian law, you can bequeath your entire estate to anybody you like. Unlike under Goan law, where you can bequeath only a certain portion of your assets to whomsoever you want. Under Goan law, there's a concept called as forced heirship. But under Indian Christian law, you can bequeath your assets to anybody you like. If you don't make your will, then what happens is there is a certain portion of devolution that follows. That is, if you have a widow and children, 1/3 goes to the widow and 2/3 goes to the children. If you have no lineal descendants, that is, if you do not have children and you have a wife and you have siblings, then half will go to the wife and half will go to your siblings. Then if you do not have any siblings at all, everything will go to your widow. And if you do not have a widow, if you do not have a wife, and you do not have children and you have siblings, everything will go equally to your siblings. And the devolution will go as later. That is to say, each branch of the siblings will be entitled to a portion of your assets, etc. So, if you want to avoid it going as per law, it is important for you to make your will. If you want to give a particular asset to one person to the exclusion of somebody else, it is important to make your will. If you want to protect your wife against any future disputes with your children, it is important to protect her by making your will. So, keeping your will in place goes a long way, especially with the law, which is talking of the formula in which the estate can get bequeathed. Another aspect which needs to be looked at is that if you do not have a will in place today, and if you want to sell your assets, you will have to go to court and get what is called as letters of administration, where your real estate assets are concerned, and otherwise you'll have to go for succession certificates for your bank accounts and your other movable assets. So, those are not only time consuming, but also costly affairs. Okay. Now, I come to the next part of it, which is the mode of devolution or transfer of assets on death. As I just said, if you do not make a will, the law operates. Then I come to the will. That is to say, it is up to you what you want to give, to whom you want to give, how much you want to give, and at what stage does that asset go to that particular person. And the third part is having what is called a testamentary trust, especially when it comes to having young children in place or special children in place or aged parents to look after. Through the will, you can create a trust where certain portion of the income and assets can go at certain defined time periods to the particular legatees. Now I come to the portion relating to wills, in the sense that as you are aware, wills will be operative only after one's lifetime. It is the most flexible tool. You can modify the will for small, minor iterations to clarify certain aspects of your will through a codicil. It can be done anytime after you create this will. Your will can be revoked and superseded by a fresh will. So although you may make a will today, you can always revoke the will by making a fresh will. It is a very cost-efficient method of transmitting your assets. The cost of a will is nothing compared to going to court and getting letters of administration or getting a succession certificate and things like that. Today, Indian Christians do not require probating of the will. That is to say, getting the grant of the court that the will is a genuine will. So this is specifically provided in the law for Indian Christians and Muslims that do not require probate of the will. Having the will in place, as I said, the succession law does not come in place. And you, as I said earlier, you can choose what you want to do and how you want to bequeath your assets. Through your will, you can, if there are minor children, you can appoint a guardian for the person and the property. That is to say, if one has, let us say, minor children, you can appoint somebody as the guardian to take charge of those properties, invest those properties in certain assets, investments, so that the income from those assets can be used to look after the children when the parents are gone. Then the assets can be also bequeathed to them, or rather actually handed over to them once they attain a certain age. You may not be handed over to them at the age of 18, but through your will, you can hand it over to them, say, at the age of 25. So they will not get access to the assets at a very young age. They will know that it will come to them only at a certain age. And you can also decide whom you want to appoint as executor of a will, and I'll come to who can be the executor of a will at a later stage. Who can manage your estate till the assets are distributed to the legatees. I'm not saying that a will, once written up and executed, cannot be challenged. It can be challenged, but the idea is to put in place a will which is watertight to ensure that there are minimum disputes and minimum challenges to the will. Today, there is no estate duty like it was up to 1985. There was estate duty. What is estate duty? If a person died, then there would be a tax on his entire properties prior to distribution to the legal heirs. It was as high as 40 and 50% or even higher. So that is not there today. I will take you all through the constituents of what is required for a will. A will is drawn up by a testator. When I say a testator, a person who is a free and willing adult with full mental capabilities. When I say full mental capabilities, I mean the fact that he's bequeathing his assets. He is aware of the consequences of what he is doing by writing his will, writing it in favor of X or Y or Z. He is doing it out of his own wish. There is no undue influence on him. He is writing it out of his own wish. It's not like a child is asking him to write his will, bequeathing all his assets in his favor. So it is not at a time when he is, losing his memory. If a person writes his will at the time when he is alleged to have lost his memory or not been in a, having full mental faculties, the will can be challenged and it can be set aside. So the important point is the timing of the will when somebody is in his right mental capacity. The second aspect of it is who can be the executor. If you're having children who are staying abroad, there is no point in appointing somebody who is abroad to act as an executor. somebody who is in India, who can actually manage the estate and can distribute the assets, is somebody you can appoint as an executor. The second aspect is a person who can understand the directions under the will to appoint as an executor. So then you come to who can be the legatees. Anybody who receives benefits under the will, either the income or the assets under the will, can be a legatee. Who should be witnesses to the will? Under Christian law, the beneficiaries cannot be witnesses to the will. The legatees and your spouse cannot be witnesses to the will. As far as possible, you should have independent witnesses to be witnesses to the will. Somebody who tomorrow, if the will is challenged in court, can come as witness to the will. It cannot be somebody's driver or somebody's maid being as witnesses to the will. Chalo, ek will likha, uska witnesses ka signature liya, chalo, the will is done. Somebody who can actually stand up and say, yes, this will was done. The witness has to only sign, mark his signature saying that he has only seen you signing the will. He does not need to know the contents or does not have a right to read the contents of your will. Then another aspect which often is debated upon is, does my will require to be registered? And what are the effects of registration? Registration of a will is not mandatory. It is only optional. But the reason why people prefer to register a will is it creates that level of credence of credibility before, let us say, a court of law or a third party, that the will is genuine. You may still have a child may probably pressurize the parent to go to get the will registered. That will is not seemingly a valid will because it's done under coercion and influence. It may be challenged. But at the same time, registration shows that it is a credible will. It is not a fake will in that sense. And last aspect is you can do either a codicil to clarify any aspect of the wills, or you can do a fresh will. What can be bequeathed? What assets can be bequeathed? You can bequeath all assets which either you own or you have a right to those assets. You can bequeath any movable or immovable assets. What are movable assets? All your your assets which are not real estate assets are your movable assets which you own. A question that can be asked is tenanted property bequeathable? Can I bequeath my tenanted property which I have, I'm a tenant? The answer is no, you cannot bequeath. It devolves on your heirs as per tenancy law. It devolves more on the person who is staying with the tenant at the time of the person's demise. You can also bequeath your intellectual property. Some of you are in business, so you may have certain trademarks, certain brands, etc. Those, if they are sold in your personal name, those can be bequeathed. You could also have certain digital assets. A lot of us are on Facebook. We have our social media accounts, etc. The contents of those media accounts can be bequeathed. If you don't specify, it can go to the residue of your estate. It goes to that person whom you are not specified what assets go. The residue of your assets can go to whomever you decide to. So if there are certain digital assets, let us say you want to bequeath it to your son, you can specify that to the exclusion of others. Artworks and prized possessions, you may have some paintings, etc., which you may specifically want to mention. Then you come to life interest and right of residence. Life interest, suppose you do not want your spouse to have ownership of the property, but you want her protected by giving her protection that she can stay in the house and she cannot be dishoused. Nobody can throw her out till her lifetime. You can provide that in the will. And the asset can go to your children after her lifetime. That is, and she can probably also give the house on leave and license and can take license fees or rent and live off that. she can also possibly, if she does not want to give it out, she can stay there and she cannot be thrown out of her house. Then you have interest in business. You may have shares in a company. You may have shares and interest in a partnership firm. You may have other assets which are holding in your personal name, which you can also bequeath. Okay. And then which assets you are not specifically mentioning in your will are called the residual assets. You can bequeath it to whomever you want. But one needs to keep in mind that as far as possible, you should specify the significant assets which you want to bequeath to certain people. Mitigating disputes regarding wills. Although wills can be challenged, you can mitigate the disputes around wills by choosing a credible executor, somebody who is independent and who will be respected by the legatees. The second is his roles are defined under the will. Then the timing and circumstances of writing the will are very important. As I said earlier, no time is not the right time. You can write the will at any time, but one should write a will at a time when one has full mental faculties, one is able to decide on his own, independent of any influence from anybody over your assets. One should not be influenced by children or by anybody else when writing your will. One should take care and ensure that one is having a will in place. One does not know what happens when. It should not be that one is not in a position, one is very infirm and cannot write his will, and then one thinks about writing his will. So one should write a will and keep it in place, especially during your midlife, or even when one touches, say, 50, 60, etc. Who can be witnesses? I have already spoken about that. Preferably have independent people to be witnesses. Who should I bequeath what assets to is a matter of choice. Whether you want to bequeath the real estate properties to some children or equally to them, bank accounts to your wife or to the children. It depends on what are the circumstances in each family. Nominees versus legatees. Where nominees are concerned, nominees are those who are only trustees of the property. And since I'm going to take a special slide on nominees, I will talk of that a little later. Hello, can you all hear me?
Yeah. Yes, now I think in
Yes,
between
sir.
there was
Got disconnected for a
There
while.
was a pause, yeah, but now we could hear
What did you
you.
all miss out on so that I can come back?
We didn't miss out on anything as such. The last was nominees. Nominee was the word which you
Okay.
uttered, and then
So,
we.
okay, fine. So nominees are not the legal owners, or they are not the beneficial owner of the assets. They are only trustees for the legal owner, the beneficial owners. The next aspect, as I told you, that not registering a will doesn't make the will invalid. It is perfectly valid in law. You register a will only under certain circumstances. For example, if the person who's writing his will is of an advanced age, he's a very senior citizen, or he's a sick person, but he can go to the registration office. Or if there are a number of siblings, the asset profile is large, and you want to ensure that the will is treated as a genuine will, ensure that you go and get it registered. Then Videography and medical certificates. Both videography and medical certificates are not compulsory. But where senior citizens are concerned, I normally advise them to have medical certificates attached to the will. Medical certificates to say that the person who's made his will is in a full mental capacity and he has the presence of mind of making his will. He is mentally fit of making his will. And this medical certificate is very, very important when it comes to wills which get challenged, especially where senior citizens are concerned. There are some people who also do videography to show that the will has been created under genuine circumstances, though it is not compulsory. And there may be certain prohibitions imposed by the testator, but that has not been challenged in court. For example, you may put a provision in the will that if somebody, one of the legatees challenges the will, and if the will is found to be genuine, then the person may lose the bequest under the will. But that has not been challenged in any court of law till date. And as I said earlier, when should one make a will? There is no specific age, but if one is not married, it is advisable to make a will after the person is married. Second is, if one is divorced or one is remarried, or if there's a fear of terminal illness, or if, for example, one does not have an adopted child but was guardian of that child and one wants to bequeath to that particular child, or one is in a live-in relationship and you want to cover those people, it is best to make the will at that point in time. And as I said, the wills can always be changed. Yeah. Next is, as I spoke about testamentary trusts, these are trusts which come into play through the will. What happens is that on the demise of the person who has made his will, the will comes into place along with the trust. For example, if one has minor children, one can create a trust to the will saying, I'm bequeathing, say, 4 crores or 5 crores of assets for the benefit of my minor children. I'm setting up a trust for them. Mr. So-and-so and Mrs. So-and-so will be the trustees of these assets. And let us say the real estate is also in the trust. The assets are invested, should be invested for the benefit of my minor children. The income is given to them, and when they reach the age of 25, the principal and the interest along with that, whatever is remaining, can go to them directly. So you can have specific directions given to them. You may want to give them certain amounts. Let us say at the age of 18, you may want to give them 5 lakhs for the education, sponsoring the education directly to the school or the college. At the time of marriage, you want to give something. So the money does not go directly to them, but it goes for their benefit. So you want to create preserve the corpus till they reach a certain age. You can also mention in the will as to who will be the trustees, what will happen if those trustees die or something happens to them. It is very useful for cases where you have minor children and special children or people with special needs. Yeah. Then we come to the next part of the presentation. Nilesh, can I have the next slide? Yeah. Issues relating to nomination. As I said earlier, there's a lot of confusion that if I've nominated somebody for my assets, that person is the owner of the assets. You have shares in cooperative societies, you have fixed deposits with banks, you've got mutual funds, you've got insurance policies, you've got any other financial securities, you've got PPF, you've got Provident Fund of your employment of those who are employed. What generally is required to be done in the first instance is you nominate a particular person who will be holding these assets. For example, you may nominate your wife or your children for your shares in the cooperative society or your bank balances or mutual funds, insurance policies, etc. But by them being the nominees, they are only trustees for those who are going to be the legatees. So tomorrow, if you make child A as a nominee, but you bequeath the assets to your wife, the assets have to be given by your child to your wife. The will overrides all nominations. only exception to this is if somebody is employed in say a company and you have got a employees provident fund. As per the 2016 amendment, whomever you nominate, it forms part of that person's estate, and that person can bequeath that particular share to anybody he wants. Other than that, all nominees are only trustees. You can always change your nominees whenever you want to, but make sure, my advice is, if you make nominations, change your wills accordingly so that the person who's the nominee also becomes the legatee if it is possible. And why is nomination important? Nomination is important for two reasons. One is that for societies, banks, insurance companies, they don't have to hunt around for the legal heirs. The nominations are there. They give the assets to the nominations, and their job is done. So it acts as a protection measure to them. What happens if you don't even have nominations in place and don't even have a will in place? Then you land in a problem. That is to say, banks will say, please get a succession certificate. Mutual funds will say, please get a succession certificate. So having nominations in place is independent of wills, but having a will in place overrides the nominations as well. Yeah. Next. Yeah. So I'm happy to take any questions now. I hope I have given you all an overview as to why wills are important.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Sanjay sir, thank you for your valuable time and the fantastic knowledge we have enhanced due to your presence today. We are really grateful to have and honored to have you amongst us. Nilesh, do we have any questions on the chat already?
No, Bestie,
Yes.
Bestie will lead this session.
Yes, yes. Sanjay sir,
Yeah.
there is a question from Noel Pereira. In case of property received through a gift deed, does the person who had gifted the property have the right to claim the property in absence of a will?
A person who has gifted his property is required to execute a gift deed and register it. So once that gift is completed, he loses right over that asset. So the asset becomes that of the person who has received the gift. So he doesn't have to, it does not form part of his estate. It leaves his estate as soon as he's gifted the property.
And so what if the witness dies?
I can't hear you,
The another question is, what if a witness to a testament dies?
Okay, you generally should have two witnesses. So if one witness dies, the other person can be a witness. So if a person dies during the lifetime of the testator, it is important to make a fresh will then, and have it executed by two fresh people. I mean, as witnesses.
Nilesh, I have sent some questions to you.
Yeah. Posted
Yes.
already. It will be
Sir,
taken.
the question here is, can liabilities be bequeathed?
Yes, so I will come to that. I didn't come to that specifically, but for example, suppose one has taken a housing loan, okay, and one is wanting to bequeath that housing loan. Now, ordinarily, all liabilities have to be met out of the estate of the deceased in the first instance, or you may take a call and say, I don't want it to be met out of the estate. Let the person who's going to get the house take over the liability and meet it out of his own resources. So you can do a mix. You can do either of the two. Either it can be met out of your estate before you give the asset to the particular legal heir, or the liability can also travel to the legal heir.
Okay. So another question here is, can a legatee refuse to receive the asset or liability from the person giving it?
One can, what should I say, refuse to receive the asset. You can't say, I'm not taking the liability, but I'm taking the asset.
Yes.
So you have to, what should I say, give up both.
Both.
And when that happens, then it goes part of the will in the rest and residue of the estate. So whoever gets a rest and residue, it goes to them.
Okay. So does the will have any expiry from Roger?
No. The will, what do you mean by expiry? In the sense that once you make the will, the will can get revoked by making a fresh will. Only when you make a fresh will, and after that, after the person's lifetime, the will is like a testamentary document. So tomorrow you want to sell an asset, which has been from an asset which has been bequeathed to you. The will is very important to keep as a document of title. In that
Okay.
sense.
Okay. So, sir, one last question from Raj. Do you need complete details of property, bank account, etc., or just mentioning it is okay?
Okay. You do not see, as far as possible, bank accounts and movable assets. One can put general description of them, unless you want to give one particular asset to one particular individual to the exclusion of somebody else. Otherwise you can, if you have saying everything should go to my wife, then you don't need to describe all those bank accounts. But where immovable property is concerned, I suggest that a proper description be given of the immovable property, because your guys may be owning land and other real estate, so that should be mentioned more specifically as compared to the movable assets.
Okay. So one
Besti,
question that was missed.
I have one question, Besti.
Sure.
Can I ask you a question, sir,
Yes,
right now?
Sure.
Sir, what is if the will is implemented? After the implementation of the bill, after some years, it is realized that the will was a fake. When do and how can it be challenged after the assets are already distributed, and then it comes to light that the will was a fake?
Now that is a very good question, Mr. Herman D'Souza. The point is, the facts and circumstances as to when it is discovered that it is fake is to be seen. One cannot get up after 20 years and say that the will is a fake will. So that is one aspect. The second aspect of it is the law of limitation will come in place, at least where real estate assets are concerned. After 12 years, if you say that, what, the will was fake, you have to justify to the court, even though there is no limitation that's concerned, you have to justify to the court as to how one discovered it now after 12 years or after 10 years, sorry, not 12 years, 10 years, how the will is fake. So one has to make every effort to see that the will is as genuine as possible. There has been a case, yes, there has been a case after almost 15 years they came to know that the will was fake. Then if the persons who have received the will had party to that, then it goes back to the estate. And it goes as if to say the person did not make a will. So,
okay, but if it is challenged, challenging is open after any years, correct?
Yeah, it is open, but the question is, courts will ask you as to why are you challenging it now? I mean, you have to have a justification as to challenging it after, say, 20 years. You can't just after 20-25 years challenge a will, no?
Correct.
So
correct.
there has to be the courts will look at the timing and the circumstances under which the will is put up also.
Okay, but if it is justified and if it is properly, the judge is or the court is satisfied with the justification, then it can be revoked.
Yeah. So then what happens is the will is set aside. It is like any fake will that is found, the will is found to be fake. So the will is set aside, and then the law of succession comes into play accordingly.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I got satisfied.
Thank you. So we end our Q&A round here. Please take any other questions offline with the speaker personally. The details have been shared with you on the screen.
Yeah, thank you
so
very
much.
much, Besti, and thanks a lot, everybody. Thank you, Linus and Nilesh, also for inviting me to make this presentation. It has been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sanjay, sir. We are very really honored to have you with us. We'll keep connected. We will be sharing your number and contact details with all the members with your permission.
Yeah. Feel free to contact me if you want. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Over to Nilesh, sir, for some announcements and Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Nilesh sir, hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Nilesh sir.
Yes.
Cancel not Dr. Sanjay Rego sir. Hello, sir. Yeah.
हा रॉबर्ट सर बोला.
या निलेशजी मला कॉन्टॅक्ट करायचा आहे, पर्सनली भेटू आपण, आता वेळ संपलेली आहे.
येस.
हॅलो, मला व्हील बद्दल डिटेल मध्ये बोलायचं आहे सरांबरोबर, रेगो साहेबांबरोबर.
सरांचा नंबर आहे, मी देतो
मी
तुम्हाला.
घेतला तुमचा स्क्रीन सेव्हिंग घेतलं ते. त्यांना सांगा मी आपण भेटू. बँड्रा कुठे राहते सर?
सर आपण ऑफलाईन बोलू त्याविषयी.
ओके सर. ओके. आणि वन्स अगेन कॉंग्रॅच्युलेशन BCPA टीम अँड डॉक्टर संजय रेगो फ्रॉम
थँक्यू.
Thank you, Robert.
काँग्रेस.
Thank you.
रेगो सर, Almeda sir from Palghar district councillor.
थँक्यू सर.
Okay sir. Once again.
So thanks a lot, Sanjay sir, for taking out time and talking to our people, our members, participants, and offer your specialized knowledge with us. Your command over the subject and the language, the free and sequential flow of the presentation and topics has, surely delivered the knowledge beyond our expectations. And it is one of the best session, I would say, and very much relevant to each and every participant, however small or big, doing business or employed or unemployed or homemaker. Thanks a lot once again. Thank you very much, and we wish you success in your all endeavors. Thank you all.
Nilesh.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you all the
all the-
participants, and hope you join again with us for the next webinar, and we will keep you noted, keep you posted. Thank you so much.
Thank you all the participants who make the webinar successful by your participation. Now, the announcement about the next Friday's webinar, as we organize every Friday. Next Friday is the 5th of June, 2020. That's World Environment Day. And we have very much relevant topic, subject on sustainability and waste management. And we'll have Ms. Natasha DeCosta who would be talking to us on these aspects, sustainability and waste management. So that would be the topic for webinar next Friday, 5th of June, 2020. Same time, evening 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Thank you. Thanks a lot once again.
Thank you, Nilesh.
Nilesh.